Keep your mind elevated. Raise your vibrations. Free yourself for the enemy. All remain in chains. Won't destroy all your joy. All the pain we overcame. Must find truth for yourself. Don't let them poison your brain. Go back to your roots. Know from the place you came. We kings and queens, no slaves. Royalty in our veins. We Moors, we Pharaoh. See tombs was our grave. Get to know your history. How you be amazed. Our energy is magic. That's what makes us great. Gangsta stop that banging. Our blood stains the payment. No selling out to be famous. All for entertainment. Don't need no validation. We know that we amazing. We know we got the power. Cause of God's creation. Put the eagles inside. It's all about progression. Let the spirit guide us. Cause it will show direction. Time to come together. And we learned our lesson. Truth, power, greatness. God gave us this blessing.
Truth, power, greatness. Truth, power, greatness. It's all up in us. Can I get a witness?
Truth, power, greatness. Truth, power, greatness. Truth, power, greatness. Oh, yes, you're amazing. You're God's creation. 30 years of enslavement. Still my people, we made it. Made something out of nothing. Tell me we ain't amazing. Always showing love. Still we the most hated. One is living in fear. Must raise up our vibrations. Trials and tribulation. Living inside this matrix. Can't steal away our greatness. Know we God's creation. Purpose for our lives. Reason we was created. Stay in touch with the spirit. Praying and meditation. Only positive energy. Mind elevation. Must look out for us. We the ones that's gonna save us. All that we've been through. Not that couldn't break us. God powers unfolding. World going through changes. Pain of our ancestors. Yeah, ways of time. Everything that we built, our work can't be undone. People love the sun. See, we the chosen ones. Truth is on the rise. Freedom soon to come.
Truth, power, greatness. Truth, power, greatness. It's all up in us. Can I get a witness?
Truth, power, greatness. Truth, power, greatness. Truth, power, greatness. Keep your mind elevated. Raise your vibrations.
I swear, I tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, yeah. I swear, I tell the truth, the
Only 30 seconds left.
Recording stopped. Recording in progress.
Truth, power, greatness. Truth, power, greatness. Keep your mind elevated. Raise your vibrations.
All right. Excellent. Well, welcome all. Thank you so much. That's an introduction of Truth, Power, Greatness by our upcoming speaker, Justinian Constantine. And it was actually done with Lassie Rochelle. So very powerful song. And today we're just kind of setting the tone for our time together. Let me first say hello and greetings. My name is Chaplain Sheree Lewis. For those who don't know me, I, along with Pastor Kevin D. Hurd, a Restoration Hope Ministries founder, will be hosting today's time together, this training for the next hour. And so welcome to Black Man It's Okay to Cry, part of one in a series of brief trainings we've been doing this year, 2023, on the subject, you have the series, You Have Permission to Grieve. Just talking to our community, granting permission, and also discussing the ways in which we can navigate grief and also navigate loss. So thank you all for showing up today. Just a couple of quick housekeeping. Definitely feel free to keep yourself muted. We have the chat that will be open and will be monitored for any questions that you might have. And then we'll also have a moment in time for Q&A. So for Q&A. So we'll go ahead and kind of jump right in. Let's see. And so my apologies in advance. I'm not I do pretty good, I'd say, with technology, but we have an expert, a couple experts that are on the line. So if there's any issues, I'm gonna defer to the pros that are on here today. So again, welcome. All right. And so just a quick overview, real quick, about how this event that we're having, we're having today, is actually being sponsored by Alameda County Behavioral Health. It's a community-based learning program. I think many of you, I see some of your names that you are probably staff with the county, and that's how you heard about it. We have some amazing flyers that have been posted up this last week on the county's website. But the purpose of our trainings are to help to improve the mental health outcome for consumers and family members here in the Alameda County. So, okay. So, yeah, again, so for some of you who don't know me, again, Chaplain Sheree, I'm here in the city of Oakland, originally from Southern California, and I work currently at UCSF Benioff Children's Hospital. So there, I'm both the grief counselor and the bereavement specialist. So welcome. I see some familiar faces. Oh, wonderful guests. So we won't belabor the time. It's already 11:10. We're just going to jump right in. We have a couple amazing speakers today, and so we want to give them ample time to share, and then also again just some space for you all to talk or to ask questions. But again, feel free to use the chat. It's being monitored. But let me go ahead and introduce one of our first speakers for this time together. We have Justinian Constantine coming all the way from Southern California. He'll be talking today on the subject matter of coming from trials to triumph, sharing about childhood experiences, the subject of forgiveness, how he became who he is today, and what helped him with his foundation. He is a father of three, a husband. For the last almost 20 years, he's been an LA County probation officer in the county of LA, being a guardian really for many of our young people who are troubled, who've made some, really some bad decisions. We'll just say it. They made some bad decisions and ended up where he works. And so I say a guardian because he's someone that definitely has a heart for young people, a heart for our community to make sure that our young people are safe. And also as a counselor. So he'll talk about some of his experiences and hopefully share, maybe one of the cases he's had that's been real tough. He's also in his own right, a minister, definitely a real estate mogul. And he is the founder of Truth, Power, Greatness. So for those who came in, and we'll drop it in the chat, it's one of the songs. He's also an artist. So a song that he created, I want to say about 5 years ago, if I'm not mistaken, 5 years ago. And it's very much the anthem for both his organization, but then also his life mission. So I'll stop talking. We have some questions prepared for him, but we'll just kind of let it flow too, Justinian. So please welcome. Everybody can see everybody. I'm not sure how the participant views are. Mm-hmm. Pastor Kevin, so can everyone see, like, if Justinian starts talking, it'll just change the view?
And so you have his PowerPoint, or does he have a PowerPoint separate from yours?
No, can you see it now on mine?
Yeah, I can see your PowerPoint.
Yeah. So this is it. I have the PowerPoint. Yeah, so he's just talking.
Yeah, I can.
So I'm saying,
I can see him. What I'll do is I'll still spotlight him. Let's see.
Okay.
For
sounds
everyone.
Good.
There we go.
So Justinian, okay, go ahead. Oh, you're muted, Justinian. I'll unmute you now. Or are you? No, you're not. Oh, I just didn't hear you say nothing. Okay, there you go.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. Before we go into my little speak, I'd like to go into a prayer and say, God, thank you for this day that you created, God. Thank you, God, for bringing us all together on this Zoom meeting, God. Allow your spirit to be flowing through me, God. Allow me to be utilized, God, to carry out your message, your word, God. I should be obedient and disciplined unto what you want me to say. to all these beautiful people on this Zoom meet. God, thank you for everything you've done for me. Thank you to continue to grow me and show me, and thank you for all the people on this chat. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining us on this session of Black Men It's Okay to Cry. I'm here to share my journey with you and my life experiences on my journey to become the man that I am today and still growing as a spiritual being into God, to fulfill my purpose as a man. A little bit about myself. I got 4 sisters, a brother. I grew up with a mother and a father before my parents ended up getting divorced when I was about 11, 12 years old. I deal with a lot of different life challenges in that, and learning how to forgive and learning how to grieve. And but understanding the foundation that my mother built me on, which was a spiritual foundation. I always tell people all the time, my mother never left me a financial inheritance, but she left me a spiritual inheritance. She always built me up to be the man I am today. Without her, I tell you, I probably wouldn't know where I would be, but I know I wouldn't be the man I am today without her instilling in the scriptures and the word and the Bible to have the foundation that I built my life on, and that I passed down to children that I work with throughout the Los Angeles County Juvenile Hall and the camps, and also my children that I still in my children today. Life is always full of trials and tribulations and challenges, but sometimes I tell people we always see what's happening to us and we don't see what's happening for us. Because in the midst of loss, in the midst of environments and exposures and experience to that, dealing in a dark world, and as we see what's going on in the world today, growing up in different childhoods, dealing with different traumas, it doesn't have us to lean on to God how we should, because it's controlling us. And we not, and most kids and most people even today are not inside the word of God's laws and commandments of how we should be living our life, or how we should be leaning on Him and lean on Him for understanding and not our own understanding. So for me, it's just understanding that my mother and just the principles and the values that she instilled in me, it led me to understand that how everything I went through in life, all the trials and tribulations, after her death, my mother dying in 2006, and dealing with that was, that was the most worst incident in my life that at that time that happened, that losing your mother, someone who's always been there for you, someone who took care of you, someone who sacrificed for you, and to lose her, it took me to a very dark place. It took me up to a place of even questioning God, of even walking away from God and not understanding, like, how could God do this to me? How could He take the most important person away from me? And in that process, in that journey of family and friends just encouraging me and supporting me, and being a shoulder to lean on, because at that point I was weak, I was broken. I didn't want to live anymore. I didn't really feel no purpose to live. I didn't have no value in life, and that was a period of my life where, where I really had to just hear from God, but it was hard to hear from in that point of grieving, in that process of pain and hurt, of losing the most important thing to me, which was my mother. And just having family, having people around me who encouraged me, said it's a reason for me to live. God still had God still got work for me. And you going through that tug of war, you like, man, God, what did I do? God, I felt lost. I felt out here naked without my mother, because she was my crush. She was always the one who just anytime I got into some trouble, anytime I got into some things, my mother was always there for me. In 1999, I was in a serious car accident. My car got hit. My car was flipped 7 times and smashed against the middle divider on the freeway. The paramedics was driving over a bridge at the time, and they saw the incident happen. And they told me after the incident, they said, we wasn't even coming to, to help somebody. We're just waiting on the corner. But God spared my life. He spared my life in 1999 to be at the point in 2023 to be talking in front of you. And that's why I say sometimes we can see what's happening to us, but never for us, that God spared my life. But in that period of time, that my mother, my face was all scarred up, my body was banged up. But my mom, she was in there. I was laying in the bed for months. And she constantly was opening the Bible to me. She opened the word to me. She was in me. She was like, son, this is what God is trying to tell you. Slow down. And that's why I tell kids today, and I tell adults today, sometimes we move so fast. We live in a fast society, a fast world. We move so fast that we don't have a time to hear from God because everything got us moving so fast. And she just started to minister to me about the word. And it was that word and them scriptures that resonate with me today, that she's still living. My mother's still living, not physically, but she's still living through me because she instilled them principles and them values and scripture and that word in me that I pull and I share with my kids and I share with others. So knowing my journey of knowing that what she instilled in me and what she put in me was more valuable than anything, was more valuable than money, was more valuable because it helps me to understand that I can get through any trial and tribulation, I can deal with any grievance. And even in her death, as she passed on, that I felt her presence more than ever. I felt her just like, you know what I mean? Her just voice constantly talking to me and just going back to moments in our lives together and periods in our lives together where she would toughen me up. She always told me, I'm not raising a boy, I'm raising a man, and I'm raising a man of God. You know what I mean? Even when I was out doing my things out in the world, running around, she always had me locked into the scriptures, had me locked into the man that God wanted me to be. Even when I was rejected, even when I was trying to run the world, I always found myself coming back to God, coming back to just understanding what he wants me to do and listening to him and be obedient. Because when we don't be obedient to God, we end up punishing ourselves. We end up hurting ourselves because we rejecting the calling. He always had a calling on my life, but I was running around just wanted validation, wanted approval from the world. I wanted to be the man. I felt like I had it all together. I felt like I can control it. And even through the grieving process, I felt like I didn't need any people. Even when people was coming to me, I didn't want to hear them. But God was constantly allowing me to hear what he was trying to tell me. He was trying to bring people to me to encourage me. So that's the place I'm at in my life, is God has said, I put you on this journey for you to do the same that's been given to you. Like they say, well, much has been given, much is required. So many things have been given to me from people, this of knowledge. You know, in the Bible it says, my people are destroyed from the lack of knowledge. He didn't say money, he said knowledge. And that knowledge is the understanding of the laws and the commandments of how God operates and what he's trying to get us to understand and how he's getting us to lean on him and not what's going on in the world. As you see what's going on in the world will always, you know what I'm saying? The world will always deceive you. The world will always trick you. The world will always use you. Yeah. Mm-hmm. The world will always use you, but God will utilize you in a way that he's building you up for a purpose, just like he did for me. And so.
Thank you, yeah. So yeah, I know it's powerful. So you talked already about your mom, lightly about, your childhood experience, parents' divorce. And then you mentioned, like you said, this great, horrible car accident that you were in when your life was almost taken and you saved and you survived. Tell us now, as you're still becoming as a man and you've now moved through in your healing, and you're now married. I mean, after your mom passing away, and tell us about that as a young, pretty vivacious guy. Now you're married with 3 kids.
Yeah, God, I tell other people always this story, and I even tell it to kids all the time, because a lot of young kids that I work with, and youth, and even adults that I work with, I tell them the journey of knowing I was younger. My mom always had visions and would tell me, like, yes, son, you're gonna be a husband, you're gonna be a father. I'll tell Mom, no, I ain't gonna be that. I'm gonna be a player. I ain't got time for marriage. You know what I mean? Because especially in the Black culture, we don't see a lot of successful marriages. We don't see things working out. And even with my mom, I saw things that my dad put her through, and just not understand. Like, I don't want to be married, but my mom always told me, no, God has a different path for you. And I was like, oh, whatever. But after she died, and in my period of grieving, that I would have never thought that I could find something that could replace and give me another sense of a new life and a new purpose. And that's when I met my wife. And my wife totally was that life support that I needed. She was that air that I needed, because I was drowning, and she really came. But like I always say, my mom would have never left me if she knew she wasn't leaving me behind something to take care of me. Last time my mom worked, this is how she operated. She knew exactly what was going to happen, because she was locked into God. She was locked into our God flow. She knew that God was going to take me down a path of becoming a husband and a father. And so by having becoming a husband and having 3 beautiful children, that I take it as a high responsibility as a man, is what I'm instilling in my kids. God said, plant and water it, and God will give you increase. So I just plant the seed in my children, and I water it and let God give them that increase. I make sure they understand how to lean on God, but they must see it in me first. It's from my wife, and a lot of men don't understand. God gave Adam the information in the garden. He told Adam the information. And when Adam then lean on and allowed Eve to be unprotected, and the serpent got to get in her ear, and then they bit the apple. It's understanding God as us as men. God gives us, he works through us because we're the head. You know what I mean? And so for me, understanding it is very important for me to be aligned with God, so my wife can be aligned with God, so my children can be aligned with God. But they first have to see that God in me. You know what I mean? Not just speaking it, not just reading the Bible, but actually living it, actually like embodying it, actually every day, and also being accountable for my mistakes. Also apologizing to my kids, my wife, when I make a mistake, when I'm walking out of that, when I'm going against that, to understand that daddy's not perfect, and I don't expect my children to be perfect. I just expect them to keep on growing like I am, just growing with God, but understanding how to like learn from your mistakes and keep growing, how to step out of that. I get out of your own way and just lean on to God. And when you do that, God will open up your doors. I mean, God has blessed me. And I tell people all the time, as being a real estate investor and successful, my biggest asset is not my money or not my properties, it's my family. It's my children. It's my support. It's the body of Christ. It's the people who I lean on when I get weak. It's the people who I lean on. You know what I mean? When I need a word to be ministered to me. It's like the people around me who bring me value, who help me along my way, and that's what I do to other people. Just help to assist people on their journey of life, and knowing that we all go through something, and we all are one body. God says that I'm saying we're the body, and that's what I do. I lean on the body of Christ. I lean on people to help me as I'm doing for others.
Awesome. So I know a little bit about your journey. Everybody in the audience doesn't know, but like you said, such a powerful story. 12 years married, 3 children. I know your mom was passed, I think almost 20 years now, but about 5 years ago, right? Can you tell us the story about how you come from, a poor a family of, you say 7 children, and then 2 parents, and then also now you yourself have purchased over $1 million property, 9 bedrooms. We have some pictures displayed. Tell us, I know you did it sometime around the COVID or the pandemic.
Yeah.
Tell us how that journey was for you. What was it like, and what made you take this big move? Not that I don't know that you have any background in contracting,
no.
nothing. High school diploma. Well, tell us about this. How did you get into real estate?
But that's what I tell people all the time on a journey. They ask me, how do they get into real estate? Or how do they get into real estate investment? They want to own properties. And I tell people, even understanding that it's never passive, because, even when you own properties, there's so much work to maintain them. And just like a marriage, it's just like a relationship, you have to maintain it. But my journey was that in the midst of a pandemic, God put me, but in the process, I was always looking, I wanted to become get into real estate and get into multifamily properties and become a landlord. You know what I mean? I just understanding it, knowing that, of me being a renter, me being a tenant, and understand that model, but knowing that, I felt like I wanted to create housing for people. It wasn't so much always about the money, it was more about the value of knowing that, you deal with slum landlords and all this, but understanding the value. And God, I started, everybody else, just watching HGTV, reading about other investors, and just knowing, okay, God, I want to get into this journey. So God took me on a journey for before I purchased my property, I was on a journey for 2 years, just looking for properties, getting turned down, people not accepting my offer. And then a property that I ended up purchasing, it was off the market. Me and my real estate agent met with the seller, and the property didn't look nothing like it looks now. It was, they did a total 180. And God just said, I'm going to take my wife and my kids to the property. I was like, what are you thinking? Why are you this thing is dirty. This thing is dusty. You know what I mean? But the vision God put inside me, when God gives you a vision, that's why I say it's important as a man. When God gives you a vision, sometimes your kids don't see it, your wife won't see it, your family won't see it, but it's up to you to be to lean on God and not your own understanding. For you to lean on God, not them just getting in your head, but saying, baby, telling my wife, like, baby, this is it. This is the one. I mean, I see so much value in it. I see so much potential in it. And it was a journey. I ain't gonna tell nobody it was a hard journey, because in the midst of a pandemic, I had contractors being crooked. I had contractors show up and the workers ended up getting COVID, and so I was on my project for like a year and a half and I had to learn a certain skill set. I had to learn how to drywall. I had to learn how to install floors. I'm telling you, I didn't know none of this stuff before. I had to go to, like we say, YouTube University. I had to like lean on people or connect with people. I had to become my own general contractor, and it was nerve wracking. And at times, that skepticism, that fear started to set. Will I ever complete this project? Will I get it done? But God just allowed me to go inside myself and say, no, I'll put these gifts in you. And so I started to teach myself different skills, like drywalling, like skim coating, like installing floors. And then God started aligning me with different people, like different plumbers and electrician. And I got the job completed. And today, my property is cash flowing. My property is successful. Tenants love living there. But it was the process that God said this time that I had gutted this whole place out. I had gutted the property out. I gutted the 3-bedroom, 2-bedroom bath in a house without the 3 units in the back. The garage was messed up. I gutted everything out and rebuilt it. But God was telling me at the time that, like I tell people, when God told Noah to build the ark, when God tells you to do something, it's like you must be obedient to him, because he's preparing you for something. So I went on this thing, and it was more than just about the property. It was more about the journey of that. While I was breaking down that property and building it back up, God said, that's what I'm doing to you. I'm breaking you down. I'm building you back up. And I'm bringing you value like you're bringing this property value. So it's these things in our lives that we're doing that it relates to each other, that entwines with each other, that you understand that God is trying to build you up. Sometimes you got to get broken down to get built up. But when God is trying to take you deeper, he's only trying to take you higher. So through this journey, God took me higher, took me to understand the skill set, to lean on him, to trust on him, and to just understand that he's given me a vision. And now my kids and my wife and people around me, they draw inspiration and motivation from me to know if I did it, you can do it, or you can do it even bigger. You know what I'm saying? So that's the journey, is understanding that sometimes everybody around you won't see, but if you lock into God and allow him to flow through you, then, in the end, you will have the victory.
All right. No, I hear that. Such a powerful story. Such wonderful shares already. I want to take a pause for a moment. And before we close out with Justinian and his share, I want to give everybody an opportunity to take a quick break, to stretch. And in the chat, we want to put in today, the training that we're doing and the talk that we're having, again, is sponsored by Alameda County. And so it's asking that we, what do you call that? We do evaluation. So in the link, there's an evaluation, a participating CBL training participant evaluation. It's just your opportunity as a participant. This training is funded by the Alameda Behavioral Health County. There are some resources that are being gifted to the first 15 participants that Alameda is paying for. But definitely take a moment, stretch your legs, grab some water. We have another speaker coming to us after the break. And I want to have just a final questions with Justinian. And then also just to give you all as the audience participants to ask any questions that you might have. I see we have quite a few young men that are on the call. So feel free to chime in. In the evaluation that you're doing, it also, you can highlight if you're calling in. We know we have people from all over the country that are tuning in. You can feel free to put location as Oakland. You don't have to put your own personal location, because that's where we're conducting our training. And then also it asks a curious question about commercial sales. So just so you know, that just means they want to confirm that in the midst of this training, we're not trying to charge you $1,000 for another training that the county doesn't know about. So you can just give a thumbs down. No, that's not being done. All right, so again, just take a moment, stretch, do a little bit of a stretch. If you have a cup of tea like me next to you, or some water, grab a little bit of water. Let's do the evaluation. And for those, again, if you registered one of the first 15, you would have received an email from me feel free to shoot me a response to that email this morning with your address, and I'll make sure early next week to send you out a free resource. And the resource for today is actually a spiritual mental health journal, a book of affirmations for men, for African-American men, written by an African-American man. It's a pretty awesome, highly reviewed piece of literature, or a book of the journal rather, to write in, to read on a daily, and maybe to gift to a man in your life, to help to encourage and to uplift them. So, like I said, we'll close with the final questions, or okay. So the survey, let's see. Oh, Pastor, are you able to drop it in the link? I can try to, but it's in the notes as well. It's just this link right here. We'll drop it in again. I'm, like I said, I'm a little technologically challenged, because if I move things, I might mess up the whole screen. So Pastor Hurd here will go ahead and drop that in. And then we'll, again, like I said, we'll close with final questions for Justinian, a closeout, and then we'll move forward with another amazing speaker. So, yeah. So Justinian, oh, don't go to, where are you going now? Now you're going to get it. It's a little too late. So the last question, as he's stretching his legs, I know he needs to stretch for various reasons, but I just want you to speak to, you talked about the real estate venture. What's next for you? Business, ministry. I hear the organization that you created, Truth, Power, Greatness. Tell us what that entails, and then we also will have just your contact information later and put it in the chat for participants to contact you if they want to follow up.
Yeah, so a part of my next venture is my ministry, which is Truth, Power, Greatness. It's life coaching and counseling services to help people face their truth, to unlock their power, to live in their greatness. I see a gentleman, I see somebody ask me a question, said, what does my shirt say? My shirt says, God flow above dog flow. And that just means, it says God flow above dog flow, mastered by God. It just means, like, you understand in G-O-D and the D-O-G, when you're going against God, it's the dog flow. When you're going with God, it's the God flow. And that means understand that, I mean, dog is a man's best friend, but God is my best friend. And I allow myself to be mastered by God. I allow God to stay flowing through me. So that's what this shirt means, God flow above dog flow. Understand that you are in control. You must lock into your God flow and not, you know what I mean, anything else is, you know what I mean, you should kill the noise, you know what I mean? So my next ventures is just my ministry, which is True Power Greatness, working with youth for the past like 5-6 years. I do youth camps with UPAC, with the United Peace Officers Against Crime, where I minister young men, where like they gave me an award in 2022 for being the best counselor. So my thing is always just to counsel, to give back. You know what I mean? Well, like I said, much has been given to me, so I give it back. It's now open up my own facility out here in Long Beach, California, to have a brick and mortar where we're teaching kids financial literacy. We're dealing with their trauma. We got the dance studio, because y'all know the kids love to dance. We just making sure we praising God, we uplifting God, because you know our kids are being controlled through social media, through music. So it's how do we, as body, for me, God put me on the corner. How do we change the narrative? How do we meet the kids where they're at, and get them to embody God, get them to lean on God, to believe in God? Because a lot of our kids right now, they're embodying this death culture. Like a lot of young men is always on the dead homies. And it's like, I'm trying to get kids to live life and live the life that God has said. Let me see that God has given me a life that I didn't even want at times. I didn't even know I was able to. But once I leaned on God, He unfolded. He at every step. That's what True Power Greatness is about. My company is the steps that we must take to go from our truth to our power to our greatness. But I'm just gonna be out here doing God's work. I always tell people my business is all about, True Power Greatness is a business, but it's a business based around doing God's work. So that's what I'm all about, doing God's work and going on from here to outside the country. I'm in Africa. Like my wife, she's from South Africa, so I'm there outside of the country doing work over in Africa. and just keep on doing God's work, being the light. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's it. God's chosen me for this. You know what I mean? Yeah. I was chosen for this, so I'll be obedient to Him and listen to His voice, and He should direct my path. So that's what I'm doing.
All right. Well, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for sharing. Again, in the chat, hopefully we'll drop in, but you can see Instagram, Truth Power Greatness. If you want to connect with Justinian, truthpowergreatness@gmail.com. Just want to say thank you so much for your time. Blessings to you, to your family.
Thank you for having me, and I appreciate you. I appreciate you and Kevin of working everything out. I appreciate y'all for having me. And like I said, just one last note to everybody out there in the time that we're going through and the spiritual warfare that we up against, what's going on over there in Israel, what's going on in Ukraine, the war that's going on here in America, to understand, just lean on to God, to lock into what God is doing for you. Slow down for a minute, to get inside your word, to understand everything that God has said is happening through this word, through this Bible. Take time out just to, you know what I mean, to just lean on Him, you know what I mean, to lock into Him, and He'll show you in what direction. He'll lead you in the path you should be going.
All right, thanks so much. Okay, so we will just keep it flowing there. Just so much powerful energy. We got some amazing speakers today. And so our last speaker for this hour, let me get my slides together. This gentleman, I have the honor of introducing, known him for almost a year now. But I'll tell you this, sometimes you know people by spirit more than you know them just in this meeting. So I feel like I've known him for much longer than that. He is a joy. He is a powerhouse, a worshiper, a musician, a community leader, a public speaker, a dynamic speaker, very gifted. He is the founder of Restoration Hope Development Corporation. I met him about a year ago, actually at a conference called From Pain to Purpose. And when I met him, I was actually doing a share on grief and on counseling and sharing my own personal testimony, my own losses. And he came up to me afterwards when we're eating and at the resource table, and he said, "Hey, Chaplain Sheree," he was like, "You know what? Your story is like my story." And I almost cried. And I told him, "Black man, it's okay to cry." I said, "You can cry for me. If you're not going to cry for yourself, cry for me." Because so many of us, right, have suffered loss and have suffered grief. And sometimes I think the biggest thing in our community is just naming it and having the permission to grieve. So this awesome man of God has been partnering with me. We've been working together this past year in community. And this training itself is because he has graciously been the host of the You Have Permission to Grieve series. And so a phenomenal thing that we've jump started that hopefully will continue beyond us. But I want to definitely give him ample time to speak and to share about today, about the topic, about how to manage anger. Anger, too, is another emotion that in our community, not so oftentimes we want to label it as bad. We don't know really how to deal with it or what to do with it. So please go ahead and give some love, open up your hearts and your minds for Pastor Kevin D. Hurd.
Hello, everyone. I don't know how I can follow what we just heard. I mean, what an awesome, inspiring story. One that.
Okay, we can't hear you, Pastor.
Oh.
Let me ask you to unmute.
Sorry. Let's see.
Okay. I see you moving. Okay.
Can you hear me now? I was saying, I don't know how I'm gonna follow that. Such an inspiring story. Thank you so much for sharing with us today. I'm inspired. I can feel my faith arising as I am at the beginning stages of some of the things that God has called me to do out here in California. I am from New York, and so I feel like a fish out of water sometimes. This has definitely been a faith walk for me. I thought I was walking by faith in other seasons, but I realized that you go from faith to faith. So God will move you into seasons where you have to trust him even more, or on a different level or in a different way. And so thank you for sharing your story. I am inspired. If anything else, it provided strength to me and context to let you know, listen, don't despise the day of small beginnings, because God has a way of using those humble beginnings to build character for where you're going. And so thank you so much for all that you've shared. I'm going to have to watch the replay and hear that again. And I look forward to connecting with you even further after this meeting. And so thank you, Chaplain Sheree, for bringing these trainings to our community and our church. I think that this is so important that we don't just eat chicken and talk about heaven, but we really do some work, with our emotional state, because God displayed emotion. When the Bible talks about God was angry, or God is a jealous God. And so we understand that he has created us in his image, and he's created us with an emotional component that we cannot ignore, especially because it has so much of a great impact on our mental health and mental well-being. And so, all right, I got a lot of slides, but I move fast. I hope I don't move too fast. Let me see. Chaplain, can you give me a time frame? Because I don't have to go over everything that I'm doing.
You're good. You got 15 minutes. So okay. I'm gonna hold you to it. I'm gonna close it out.
All right. I want to be
I'll give you 10, and I'll just maybe I'll pause you if you need to take a breath.
All right. I want to be a professional and not a preacher. Okay. But I am a preacher, and so we can get off on a tangent. All right, but. Let's define anger. Let's define anger first of all. And so anger is a powerful emotion. And the reason I say powerful emotion is because it's not a low-level emotion. I think it's I think how you handle something that holds power, or anything that has power, needs to be managed, right? And so anger is not just an emotion, but I want us to recognize today that it is a powerful emotion. It is a great motivator at times. And so it's not always negative, but anger is a powerful emotion that everyone experiences at some point in their life. And it can range from mild irritation to intense rage. And can be triggered by so many different factors. And so I want you to first understand that anger is a human experience. It's something that we are all familiar with. It's nothing to feel upset about because you are angry, or because you deal with anger, or because this is an emotion that is real or present in your life. It is very real. It is very normal for humans, people, to be angry, to get triggered by different situations. Okay? And so that's the first thing I want to point out. Moving on. Anger, not only is it an emotion, but for some, it is a habit, right? For those who may be thinking, okay, I need help managing my anger. Well, a lot of time it's because anger has become a habit for many, right? It has become a routine. It has become familiar and a predictable response to different situations in our lives. And so at times when it gets like that, we understand that it has become a habit for us. Anger, when displayed frequently and aggressively, it can be a coping habit for a lot of people. Sometimes anger is the way that we make ourselves feel safe, or anger is the way that we feel like we can be heard, or anger is just the way that we cope with different life's highs or lows. Okay, and so understand that anger can be a habit when you're automatically performing when you're constantly responding in anger because of different situations in your life, then you might need to reevaluate, has this become a habit for me? And so a habit by definition means performing behaviors automatically over and over without thinking. If you have gotten to the place where anger is just is just your first emotion that is displayed, then maybe it has become a habit for you. Okay? And maybe it has become a habit for you because it is your way to cope with different highs or lows in your life. Okay, let's talk about anger versus aggression. All right, many people often confuse anger with aggression. Aggressive behavior is intended to cause harm or injury to another person or damage their property. And so hostility, on the other hand, refers to a set of attitudes and judgments that motivate aggressive behavior. So anger and aggression is not the same thing, and anger does not always lead to aggression. Okay, so just like we're saying you have permission to cry. And just a correction, I didn't tell Chaplain Sheree I almost cried. I told her I did cry. I was sitting over there crying on the organ because what she said was so powerful. And so just like you have permission to cry, you have permission to grieve, you have permission to be angry. And let me just take a page out of my preacher book. Bible says it like this: be angry and sin not. And so there is a way to manage your anger before it gets to the point of sin. The Bible also says that anger rests in the bosom of a fool. I'm going ahead of myself. I didn't really add no scripture here. I said I want to. But understand, if you want to be a fool, hold on to your anger. Okay? Fall in love with that emotion, anger. And you'll find that when you hold on to anger too long, it doesn't serve you well. Okay, but it doesn't always lead to aggression. All right. And so let's talk about the connection between stress and anger. Okay, stress and anger are closely connected, as one can often trigger or intensify the other. And so stress can be a trigger for anger. When we experience high levels of stress, it can lower our tolerance for frustration. Come on, if you think about some of the seasons in your life where you're feeling overwhelmed, and then the wrong person comes at you the wrong way, we say, it seems like anger is the emotion that shows up first. And so when we experience high levels of stress, it can lower our tolerance for frustration and make us more prone to becoming angry. We know frustration, adults, mature people know that frustration, delays, setbacks are all a part of life. And sometimes, even though we recognize it, we don't really expect it. Okay, yeah, that's why we can get upset constantly in traffic, and so many people are killed because of road rage. Right? But we understand that traffic is a part of driving. That is a part of that. Those certain stress factors exist, just a part of life. But it's those moments when we are overwhelmed with stress that anger is easy to be displayed or move from mild aggression to very high intensity moments where we're cussing folk out or we're out at ourselves or doing.
Can I pause you here for a moment, Pastor? Yeah, so definitely what Pastor's saying, all right on. And I say, and from a traditional standpoint, we talk about how when you recognize the triggers, right? If you know you're driving, if you know you're in a difficult conversation, removing yourself. And so I know Pastor in a moment will talk about how to cope with this.
Yes.
As we mature and we grow as adults emotionally, part of our emotional health is being able to step away, to take a break, to remove ourselves from that environment, or recognize when it's happening. Yes. To be able to name it. That, hey, I'm being triggered. This is difficult. I'm going to take a walk. I'm going to take a break. Or maybe I'm going to pull over the car, get off the freeway, and take a scenic route. Yeah.
You're going ahead of me. I'm gonna have you teach the slide. That's good stuff. I couldn't have said it better. So I don't have too much to say on triggers, right? So no, that is absolutely right. And so all of this is understanding this is going to help us understand our triggers, right? So stress can make us disoriented when we're trying to think and make us perceive situations wrong, leading to cognitive biases and negative thought patterns. And all of this can fuel our anger and make us interpret situations inaccurately. And so understand that some of our anger is legitimate, but some of it is illegitimate. Some of it is because of the way we feel about somebody's tone or something that was connected to our past trauma or something that is just really has nothing to do with the present situation, but we're perceiving things improperly because we are stressed out. Okay?
And I'll say this too, Pastor. I mean, as a clinician or working in the hospitals and doing crisis management, one of the things that we encourage caregivers, parents, individuals is to tap into your toolkit. What is it? Who do you talk to when, what has been a difficult situation in the past that has happened? How do you get through it? And so when we have a toolkit, it's just tapping into the things like if it's taking a walk, if we pray, if we meditate, if we exercise, some of us are runners, we ride bikes. It's in the moment too. If we journal, or if we're writers, it's recognizing what is it that we do that helps us to alleviate stress, to bring us to take care of ourselves, which is not really a word we hear often in the African-American community about self-care. But I want to say that also too, that even as he's talking about the coping, taking advantage, and part of this training is really about encouraging too. I know it's a tough one in our community about talk therapy or seeing a counselor or therapist. But right now today, you have 3 individuals who are ministers, who are counselors. And what we do is we listen. And so listening or having someone that you could talk to, a safe place to share about what's going on can be a big relief in helping you to process and manage difficult emotions like anger.
Spot on. She's sharing a lot of these solutions. So when you hear them, just continue to jot them down and understand that this is very true, it's proven. And so I guess the last thing I would say about this slide is ultimately the relationship between stress and anger can create a feedback loop where stress triggers anger and anger in turn adds to the overall stress levels. And as you can see, this cycle can just keep on going to the point where it's unchecked and then your anger is out of control. Let's talk about really quickly some 3 myths surrounding anger. That the way you express anger cannot be changed. That is not true. Anger can be managed. And so that's one of the first things that we must understand, that our emotions, it took me, when I first realized that anger was an emotion, that kind of helped set the groundwork for me to do the work and manage it. I said, well, if it's an emotion, some people think emotions is just crying. We think that's the only way that emotions are displayed, or that's when you are emotional. But no, when you throw in a tantrum, it's because you're emotional, and men have tantrums too. Adult tantrums. Adults have tantrums too. Come on, we work with some folk that have tantrums on a daily, which is a trigger for some of us. Okay, and so anger does not automatically lead to aggression. We talked about that, and the hope is how you learn to manage your anger, recognizing your triggers. On a scale of 1 to 10, recognizing how angry certain situations make you, or how angry are you, and knowing how to remove yourself from certain situations or do things that's going to be therapeutic. Learning breathing exercises, calling for help when you need help. That people, we laugh at it when we watch TV shows where, people calling somebody on the phone, girl, you better calm me down because I'm about to go slap Sarah in the face. Sometimes you need to call somebody that can talk you off of the ledge, so to speak, that can get you from a place where you're going to hurt somebody and or yourself. Okay, and so aggressive expression of anger is healthy and therapeutic. There used to be a study, and people used to say that expressing your anger aggressively is therapeutic. It's a way, smashing stuff and breaking stuff is therapeutic. And some might still argue that today, but no, that is not the therapeutic way to handle anger. New research has shown that there is so many other avenues in which we can express our anger, and if we get into a habit of expressing anger aggressively, that can be our new, like I said, coping mechanism that can matriculate in other areas of our lives. Okay, and so, all right, moving fast. You text me. Let's see what you said. 2 minutes. Y'all can screenshot
So
this. Y'all can.
So as Pastor is talking, I dropped something in the chat, but also in terms of expressing of anger, right? We can receive help. There's something called nonviolent communication. I put in the book years ago, written by Rosenberg, that talks about the I statements and taking the weight out of having difficult or conflictuous conversations, where you talk about how this particular situation makes you feel and what you would like to see happen. So there is a way in terms of communicating that is nonviolent, where you can be assertive and you can discuss what your needs are and how to get them met, without exploding. Mm-hmm.
So what does anger do to us physically and emotionally, right? You can screenshot this if you want to keep this information. One of the things that it does, it increases your heart rate. It creates muscle tension. It gives you digestive issues. It weakens your immune system. It harms your rest and your sleep at night. Some of the emotional effects is irritability and hostility, anxiety and stress, depression, impaired judgment, increased aggression, in situations that you really shouldn't. You ever meet somebody that's just overly aggressive for no reason and just everything. And so understand that your anger does have an effect on you. It doesn't just affect the people around you, but being unchecked anger and even anger in general is going to have an effect on your body. It puts you in a fight or flight type of mode. And so one of the things that Chaplain Sheree was talking about was triggers, right? And so understanding what events and cues in your or what events in your life trigger you, and having cues to recognize when anger is building up is very important. So an episode of anger can be viewed as consisting of 3 phases: build up, explosion, and aftermath. And if you were to join a 12-week course with me, I would break that down with you. I'm not going to do that today, but I would break down those 3 phases, but understanding that there is levels to this, as we say in the hood. We say there's levels to this, right? You don't just get to the point where you explode, but you have to understand what level or when your levels are escalating. When you can feel, like I just said, what is happening in your body. And so being in touch with what's going on physically, is very important when managing your anger and understanding your triggers, okay? And so when you get angry, it is because you may interpret an event in your life that has provoked your anger. Many times specific events touch sensitive areas in our life. These sensitive areas are red flags or triggers, usually referred to long-standing issues that can lead to anger. In addition to these events that you experience in the here and now, you may also recall an event from your past that has made you angry. And just thinking about the past events may make you angry now. And so here's a few questions that you can ask yourself, so you can start dealing and with this emotion. What sets me up to become angry? Learn something about yourself, right? So these are some questions that you can ask yourself when we're done, or you can jot them down. Ask yourself these questions now. What was I thinking when this emotion became overwhelming, or when I get angry? What are the things that I'm thinking about that make me angry? How do I feel when I become angry? Do I feel violent? Do I feel depressed? Do I feel lonely? Do I feel afraid? Am I filled with anxiety? What am I feeling? Right? And then what has triggered me? Is it their words? Is it their tone? Is it something from my past that they're saying something now that's reminding me of where I was, a trauma from my past? Okay, recognizing triggers. Elder already spoke about this, but self-awareness is so important. And so reflect on situations, people, specific events that consistently trigger your anger. It could be certain remarks or perceived disrespect. Like I said, not all the time is someone meaning to be disrespectful, but sometimes we just take it as disrespect because maybe when we heard it 15 other times, those people were being disrespectful. And we promised ourselves after that 15th time, we never going to be disrespected like that again. Oh, ego is a big part of our anger. Sometimes it ain't anger, it's ego. That's another class. Okay, and so anger can be healthy or unhealthy. Healthy anger refers to normal and natural emotions of anger that is expressed and managed in a constructive and appropriate manner. It involves acknowledging and expressing anger in a way that respects oneself and others. So you don't want to disrespect yourself, okay? You don't want to become a people pleaser. That's not what managing anger does. It doesn't deny yourself of being angry or being human, but it does teach you how to respond in a way that respects all parties involved. Okay? Unhealthy anger, on the other hand, is referred to anger that is expressed in a harmful, aggressive, or destructive manner. When if you cheated ever before and got caught, and then you got home and she burnt all your stuff, she ruined all your equipment. I'm not talking about me. I'm talking about some of my friends. And so got home and she destroyed everything. Cheated on a good wife. Cheated on a good wife and thought she was crazy because she would just maybe nag, as he would say it. But then got with this new one and she destroyed everything. He thought he'd seen anger before. There's a saying, there's no what, like a woman scorned, something like that. And so that's talking about unhealthy anger. It involves losing control, engaging in verbal. It's not always physical, but sometimes people are abusing us verbally, right? Sometimes you got to know when you're being abused verbally so that you can remove yourself from those toxic situations and understand that is unhealthy for someone to even be displaying that type of anger towards you. Unhealthy anger can have negative consequences, and that's one thing that a lot of people forget or need to remember when learning to manage their anger. What are the consequences that are connected to whatever action or reaction I give? I often say your response is your responsibility. All right, I think I made that clear.
Okay.
Identify and challenge. So here's some things that can help you manage your anger. Identify and challenge negative thought patterns that contribute to your anger. So once you start to identify your triggers, events, how you're feeling, what was said to you, what was going on at that time, identify and challenge the negative thought patterns that contribute to your anger. Some of the anger that we experience, or the perpetual anger that we experience, is because of the thoughts or how we identify things in our own mind. And so do the work on yourself and think about, and how can I do that? How can I challenge my thinking? I'm glad you asked me. Now here's the preacher in me. How can I challenge my thinking? First, you can challenge it with the word of God. When nothing else can transform your life, you can go to the word of God, which can give you his perspective on how you ought to handle your life. Okay, and so mindfulness and awareness. Yes, you can be mindful and aware of a bunch of things, but be mindful and aware of what Jesus said. Because trust me, he got angry too. He had all power. He had, because you can't spit in my face, and I got angels I can call down from heaven and wipe you out, and I can kill you, bring you back, and kill you again. You know, I had some issues with anger that the Lord had to deal with me, because if I had that kind of power. And so you know that God could not afford, or Jesus could not afford, to lose his anger having that amount of power, right? So be mindful of what Jesus says. Pay close attention to your thoughts, because you can't believe everything that you think. Thoughts may arise when you feel angry. Be aware of the negative and irrational patterns that emerge. People have done some stuff to me, and I can feel myself getting ready to snap. But thank God for the Holy Ghost, because he already revealed to me, listen, he brought back to me, listen, you see where your mind is? Let me pull your mind back. And the word of God can do that. So awesome. Thought challenge and reframing. That's the same thing, basically. Use the word of God. The word of God can do all of this. Can challenge your thinking and reframe your thinking. The Bible puts it like this. So a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. And we are transformed by the renewing of our mind. How we believe is how we behave. Every behavior is based off a belief system. I sat in this chair because I believed it would hold me up. If you believe that room that you're in is going to blow up, you're going to do something. Real belief causes you to do something. That's why faith without works, it is dead. Because you can't say that you actually believe and then don't do anything. And so change your belief system, or challenge your belief systems, and then you can start to reframe the negative thoughts that you have. Okay, the last one I want to say is seek support. Seek support. There comes a time where you have done the work yourself. There comes a time where you have come to the end of yourself, and you need to call in your tribe. You need to phone a friend and ask someone to help you. Recognize those moments and where you need extra help. And so we have therapists, we have counselors, we have more than just church that can help you to manage your anger. But these are just some of the suggestions I have. God bless you.
Thank you so much. Awesome. No, we definitely can stay and continue to talk about this worthy topic and subject for a time. We want to respect your time. So we're going to give a great thank you to Pastor Hurd for his share. And in the chat, I've dropped a couple resources. The Body Keeps the Score. He's right. There's ways that our body collects the trauma and the experiences that will live on for years until we process the difficult emotions and the experiences. And I think the challenge is, and today the goal is to give you permission to grieve, to be aware when previous experiences come up that are not about what you're really dealing with in the present, but it's a past childhood trauma, a past relationship, whatnot, that you haven't fully processed. And it's powerful to give yourself the space. But I want to acknowledge too, that it's difficult. And in our society, in this Western society, in this world, we're not always allowed to cry, to express fully colorfully what we're dealing with. And we're also not really admonished, right, that we're going to have seasons in our life where we're going to be uncomfortable, where we're going to be in transition, where it doesn't feel good, where the sun doesn't always shine. But if we hold on, I think already the speakers leaned into their faith and talked about how their faith has brought them through, and really has been something that they rest upon. And so I don't know about you, for those who have joined us, I know you're coming from a cadre of different backgrounds, but whatever it is that supports you, whatever it is, if it's nature, if it's family, if it's friends, if it's meditation, if it's exercise, the things that refuel you, you want to definitely lean into it when it's difficult, and allow yourself really the space and the time that you need to heal. And I think that's really what we're talking about, is about healing our minds and allowing ourselves to be well. And so I'm going to...
we have one question.
Go ahead. So the share from Reverend Hassan.
Yes.
Go ahead and read it, and I'll share my screen as we close out. And
to be a Negro in this country and to be relatively conscious is to be in a state of rage almost all the time. Please respond to this quote. is it irrational? Can the Bible fix this? And that's an excellent question. I think there are certain things that should make us upset, and I guess I failed to say that. But even as we have the permission to be angry, but refrain from sin, I think at the same time there are certain things that should make us upset. There are certain things that should make us enraged. As we know, the Bible talks about plenty of times that God was upset and displayed his anger, right, and executed righteous judgment. And so at the same time, there are certain things that should get us upset. There are certain things that we should be enraged about that should never make us happy or smile. The realities of being black in America and the massive amount of work that we still have to do, it should get some of us upset and motivate us to be active participants in the change that is so necessary and needed in our communities. I think that should be a motivator. And the Bible is not here to necessarily quench our anger, but to teach us how to manage it properly and use it as fuel that even God can get glory even when we're angry. So that's how I would answer that. But yeah, I totally agree. And that's why I think a lot of us need to learn how to manage our anger, because a lot of us are in a state of, we've reached past anger. We are enraged by just our everyday experience or the reality of our everyday experience.
Yeah, and so I just want to say too on that note, and I think it was, thank you for answering, but if I'm not, I don't know. It can also just be really a rhetorical question, a question that for all of us that we sit with, how can we be with it? And I think, although this book, I put it in the chat, Gary Chapman, The 5 Languages of Anger, in it, he does write about how anger itself can be a directional tool. So again, just being curious about what is showing up. Is it because a boundary has been crossed? Or like you said, there's some changes or things that we need to do either in our environment around us or within ourselves to have some type of differences, right? Like maybe not what we can control, what we can change rather, and what we can't control, we can't. So thank you again for your shares, for your questions. I know the chat is still going. I'm going to take this time to share our announcements. And then I do have a prayer I want to just share with the men. Real brief, it's a sharp prayer. And we'll drop in the chat too if anybody's also interested. And we did, Pastor, for a moment, we had I don't know if everybody experienced it, but a little blackout. So for some of us, we're disconnected. And now we're rejoining. But yeah, so upcoming trainings on the website, restorationhopeministries.com, where you signed up today to register. 2 upcoming trainings for the fall: Holiday Blues, Good Grief, and Suicide Prevention Awareness. Have a dynamic speaker in Miss Lynette Mackey, a grandmother whose grandson died by suicide, and now she has become an advocate. She is a Golden State warrior in the community. Now she has an event coming up in December. It will be a biannual event that she does in community. Mayor's there, police chief, over 500 participants, where she's connecting young people who are dealing with suicidal ideations or mental health challenges with therapists and clinicians. So definitely, if you can't make it out, feel free to sign up at 11:11 at 11 a.m. It'll be a powerful time. Also want to just highlight too, another dynamic speaker, Reverend Dr. Candace Cole Kelly, will be joining us in December, all the way from Southern California. She is a senior chaplain at Miller's Children and Women's Hospital. She is also the writer of a book on the topic of racial equity. Many I've heard, I know in the recent news, so much has come out about, I forget her name, but we'll highlight it during that time. A track runner, African-American woman, many others who have lost children in the midst of childbirth, and some whose loss of life. And so Dr. Kelly has actually written a curriculum for the hospital care system. She is training nurses and doctors in how to be more culturally aware, to be more aware of their bias, and also how to prevent burnout. But then she'll also talk from a practical standpoint as a perinatal specialist. She works in the neonatal unit of Children's Hospital and works with women who are dealing with challenges in the birthing process. And she wants to ensure that there is racial equity for Black women and for babies. So for any women, or if you have a woman in your life who's gone through something like that, or who's, it's a topic of conversation that we all definitely can participate in, feel free to definitely to join us. And so I also want to share that if we have any leaders here and you're interested in this training, if you want to bring it to your organization, we will have, what do you call that? You can connect with me after today. We're doing a 2024 signups now, doing the series, You Have Permission to Grieve. We talk about Children Can Grieve Too support group, bereavement training, how to put your own bereavement program on, care packages for those that are grieving in your community or in your organization. So if you're interested in being a host like Pastor Hurd, he's both a host today and a speaker for the online training. Some of them, we've done one also in person, but the online training seems to also, pull a great deal of participants. But if you would like to host, feel free to reach out to me and we can make that happen. If you're interested in one-on-one counseling or group therapy, feel free to also reach out. Again, our contact information, I think we've been putting it in the chat throughout. Again, I want to close. I don't want to rush. Our time is well spent. But I do want to close with a prayer. This prayer is written by a spiritual leader by the name of Marianne Williamson. Some of you may or may not be familiar with her. Someone, I think she's known maybe by the support that's been given years ago by Oprah Winfrey. But she writes a book called Illuminata. And in the book, she has this prayer, so many different prayers that I actually use in my work as a clinician in the hospital system. And this one I thought would be dynamic just for today. So this prayer for my brothers, for the men that are here, is a prayer to you. It's an amends between men and women. So if you hear it, I want you just to think about a relationship with a woman. I don't know if it's your mother, if a partner, a sister, where there has been hurt, and that you are still yet healing. I want to be able to stand in a space as a proxy today for that woman and to you to hear these words. If I or any member of my sex has ever done anything to hurt you or offend you, or if any man, please forgive me. Please forgive us. If your life as a man has been stunted or thwarted by a woman, I now stand in her stead and I apologize. I apologize for me. I apologize for her. I apologize for all womankind. May God give us a healed vision of what it means to be a man. May men receive this healing. May women receive this healing. May we see your strength, my brother. May we not emasculate you. May we honor and respect your power. May we honor and respect your mind. For I shall teach my daughters too as well. May your past be healed, my brothers. May your future be made new and strong. May you reach your fullest joy. And may you go with love, with all of my love. Amen. And so as we say sometimes in our culture, Ashe, so be it. It is so. Let it be done. Thank you again for your presence, for your time today, for showing up. Again, if you have any questions or if you would like to connect with any of our speakers, we've dropped the contact information, continue through the chat, restorationhopeministries.org, and the Instagram, Truth Power Greatness or Truth Power Greatness at gmail.com, or slewis.counselingservices@gmail.com. So if there's any questions, I saw there was a couple comments in the chat. Otherwise, again, our time is well spent. We're not going to hold you any longer. But if there's any questions, Pastor, did I miss something? I saw the chat and then I see things that are disappearing. Is he still there? Okay. things were popping in and out.
No, you didn't miss anything.
Oh, okay. Okay. Sounds good.
All
right. So again, we put into the last one.
Aaron asked for the track to the Truth, Power, Greatness track.
Oh, okay. So I'll drop that right now again in the chat. Let's pull it up. Yeah, and it's also located on YouTube. That's actually just where I pulled it from. Truth, Power, Greatness. If Justinian tells the story, he wrote it, created it over 5 years ago, but it wasn't. He wrote it over more than 5 years ago, put it to music, and now it's on YouTube and some of the other. Oh, here it goes. I'll drop it in the chat. Yeah, but then some of the other mediums that he's using. All right. So, Pastor, you have any final words? The time now is about 12:25. Thank you again, all who have joined us. Again, if you were one of the first 15 participants, you would have received an email from me. If there are more, I'll definitely took a note of who showed up today. And I'll resend that email. But feel free to send me your address, and I'll make sure you get one of the resources, the African American Journal, written by a Black man for Black men, in terms of affirmations and mental, emotional well-being. So, Pastor, do you have any closing words? Otherwise, we're dismissed.
No. If you're interested in going through a 12-week anger management course, you can always email the church. We will be starting one soon. And so it's going to be a 12-week type of thing with some of the information that you received today, but way more in depth. And so with even some of the things that Chaplain Sheree was talking about, like effective communication. And so if you're interested or know someone that it might benefit, you can refer them, and we'll make sure that they have the information as to when the classes are starting. Thank you all. Thank you to our guest speaker today. I don't really feel like the guest too much, but thank you so much. I look forward to connecting with you again. Thank you, Reverend Harris, Reverend Kamal Harris. Thank you so much. A giant in God and in the kingdom. And so I'm also looking forward to connecting with you even more. But thank you for your time. Thank you, everyone that's on the call. Thank you, Chaplain Sheree. Back in your hands.
Yes. So again, blessings to you all. Definitely want to encourage you to take advantage of the resources out there in your community. If you have health insurance, many organizations like Kaiser do offer anger management, grief support groups for free, communication classes for couples, and even anxiety and stress classes that are free. Some of them go from 4 to 6 weeks. And I will tell you, they change lives. Just a place and a space that is safe for you to get tools on how to take care of yourself, how to have effective communication, and also just how to focus and give time to your mental and emotional well-being that both impacts you, your family, and your community at large. So thank you all for coming. We look forward to seeing you again, maybe in our November training, 11/11/11. 11/11 at 11 a.m. And then our December 2nd, racial equity for birthing Black babies and for women. So blessings to you on your day. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye. Take care, everyone.
Record.